Hi everyone, so this is a nice super simple crocheted slouchy beanie pattern that I've put together so you can practice your basic crochet stitches. You're going to need to know single crochet, double crochet, how to work on a magic circle and how to increase. These are all covered on the Classic Craft Studio channel's videos that I've done in the past, so if you need to recap, that's where you can find the info. So let's grab some double knit yarn and 4mm hook. If you have a 3.75 to do the headband, then that's excellent. Otherwise, you can always do the headband with a 4mm hook. Right, let's begin. Our first crochet project for beginners is going to be a slouchy beanie. So we make our magic circle. If you need to recap on this, I've done a tutorial on this one in the past. And you're going to do 12 double crochet into your magic circle. So we start with a chain of 2, then yarn over, and you go into your magic circle, and you're doing a double crochet into that magic circle. So 12 of those stitches. So your first chain of 2 counts as your first stitch. So we've done 2. So I'm going to speed up the video. Please feel free to stop and pause the video as you need to in order to keep up. It just makes things go a bit faster if we speed. Right, we have our 12 double crochet. Grab the short end and pull tight. Again. Then we're going to join the stitch we've just done with the top of the first stitch that we did. So that's third one there with a slip stitch. Okay, that's our starting circle. Right, now the second row that we're going to do, the second round, we're going to increase into every stitch. So we're going to be doing 2 double crochet into every stitch around, and we'll end up with 24 stitches. So as always, chain 2. We're going to start there and then we'll end our second one there. So in our first stitch along, we're going to say do 1, and then into that same stitch again, yarn over, and that's an increase of 1. And you're going to do that for every stitch in this round. We're going to increase 1. So we end of our second round, just doing the 24th stitch. Then we're going to join it with a slip stitch, the first stitch we made of this round. So you see that little chain there, you count up 1, 2, and the third one. Put your needle in there, hook in there, sorry, pull it through both sides like that. Right, that's 2 rounds completed. Okay, for our third round, we're going to chain 2. Then in our first stitch here, we'll do 1 stitch, and then the next stitch will increase by 1. So it's 1 double crochet, and then in the next stitch, 2 double crochet into the same stitch for your increase of 1. And you're going to repeat this pattern all the way around this third round. Okay, and same as before, we join with the slip stitch at the top of that first stitch that we did. Okay, right, on to round 4. So, chain 2, then we're going to 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, and then an increase in the third stitch along. So, 1, and the next one, and then 2, an increase of 1 stitch. So because this is nice light cotton that I'm using as my yarn, it's easy for me to see what I've done, where I need to put my double crochet, my increase of 1 and the double crochet around. Just these nice gaps. So it's nice yarn to use for when you're starting out, as opposed to using something fluffy that it's difficult to see where you've done your increase of 1 stitch. So you probably guessed we're going to do 1 double crochet into, one double crochet into the first of the 3 stitches, and then in the 4th stitch we'll do our increase. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th stitch we do our increase of 2. Increase by 1. So I'm busy with my 6th round now. I started to add 4 extra stitches to my work. So to do that I did 20 double crochet, did an increase until all the way around, and I'll do my last increase over there. So that'll give me 64 stitches in the round. Okay, so I've got my 64 stitches, and I'm going to be just doing 1 double crochet in each stitch around until the beanie is as long as I want it to be. So I've just finished round 9, just to show you that it's starting to take its shape, starting to go up at the sides here. You'll also now be able to tell whether or not this is going to be able to fit you, and if you need to maybe undo these last 3 rows and just either increase or decrease over here. But don't worry too much, because this is a slouchy beanie, so it's got a nice loose fit to it, and then when we do the band to go around the head, that's when we really start to ensure that it's as tight as it needs to be. But for now, just to show you, it's starting to form the sides of the beanie. And also just to add that I'm now doing the first stitch into this very first stitch here, and then we don't stitch into that last stitch there. That just makes the join a little bit neater between the rows. Could of course be working on a spiral, but I haven't done a YouTube tutorial for that yet, so when we get to spirals you'll be able to show that. But if you know how to do crochet in a spiral, then continue like that for now. For this beanie I'm just going to continue going in rounds. Our first 2 stitches, and then like I say, our last stitch will be into that one, and not into that as we were doing before, to that one there, because we finished our increases now, so it just makes it look a little bit neater. And just one last little thing to add. You can see here I put a different color little piece of yarn in here, and that was my last row of increases. So it's just easy to count because I know that was row 7. So from here on we're counting 1 row each. So just to help counting the rows and keeping track of where you are, I suggest using a little piece of alternative colored wool that we'll obviously take out the moment that we finish the project. So if you want a normal non-slouchy type beanie, then you probably want to stop at row 15 or 16. But if you carry on to row 19 or longer, then you get a more slouchy style beanie. So we finished the double crochet. I came to the end of my ball of wool. So I finished off my work and then I tucked in the ends. And now I'll start with my new color for the headband part. So hook your new color in, chain 1, and then we're just going to go single crochet into each stitch around, I'm using a 3.75mm hook for the headband, and I used a 4mm hook for the hat. It's just to give it a little bit of extra tightness around the head. So now we're just going to go single crochet into every stitch around the headband. I'm working over my tail, so just holding it at the back of the stitches like that, so I don't have to tuck it in when I've finished. So I'm just going to go around the headband in single crochet. So I've come to the end of the first round of the single crochet. So I suggest you try it on at this stage just to make sure it still fits and that it's tight enough. If necessary, you're going to need to just decrease by 1 or 2 stitches in this round. If you need to, then look at the decrease. I've done a little tutorial on how to do decreases in single crochet. So if you need to, have a look at that. So you've got a choice now. You can either slip stitch into our first stitch that we did of this round, or you can just continue to go in a spiral. So instead of slip stitching into that one, you just continue to stitch as one would a normal single crochet into that. If you're going to be doing the spiral rounds, which does make it a little bit easier, I find, it's a personal thing, then put in just a little bit of wool of a different color into your first stitch here, and that'll just help you when you're going around again to know when you've got to the beginning again, because especially if you're doing a big project, it's useful to know where your first stitch was so you can count your rounds. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to do 4 to 5 rounds and then decide how thick I want my headband to be. Yes, and that's after 4 rounds. I think I'm going to do at least 1 more round, if not 2 more. I like a nice thick headband, but like I said, try it on as you go and decide for yourself how many rows of single crochet you'd like to do in terms of how thick you want your band around your head to go. So I've come to the end of my 8th row. As you can see, I've given myself a nice wide headband. So then I've got an option of wearing it like that or rolling it up for a narrow headband, just depending on how I'm feeling. So that was where I started my rounds. Then I put a mark at round 4, just so I knew, and then I went up to 8 rounds. It's obviously entirely up to you how wide you do this headband. It's all just single crochet. Just want to show you the final few stitches. So we're just going to do 2 slip stitches to ease this row into that row. We do slip stitch 1, slip stitch 2. And then pull it through to finish your stitch. And tuck it in there, and then you just tuck it in neatly as possible into your stitches here. Trim our ends, remove all our little stitch markers, and you have your completed beanie. I hope you enjoyed today's free pattern. I will ask in return is that you subscribe to my channel and click on the thumbs up button. Thanks for watching.